Mark Robinson's a wild boy. If you guys don't know who Mark Robinson is, he is a GOP nominee for a governor. He is the current lieutenant governor of the state, which I don't think people talk about when they talk about Mark Robinson. They talk
Right.
about someone who is attempting to achieve this higher office. He already has a
He's
pretty
already
significant office there in North Carolina. So look, obviously he's a Trump candidate. We've talked about him a little bit on the podcast. There was some news gathering done. And CNN was able to connect Mark Robinson to several different accounts from his internet past. These are accounts on YouTube. These are accounts on Twitter, particularly a handle was called Mini Soldier. It also had an account on a site called Nude Africa. What?
Nothing. Keep going.
Can we do something real quick?
Yeah.
In holding Mark Robinson accountable, can we not besmirch people who may have had accounts on Nude Africa or other sites like it? Because it's just a place where people go to share their love of their hobby or their lifestyle.
There's no reason to do that. The only reason that Mark Robinson is getting that, I'm saying there's no reason to besmirch these type of people or these people that do this, because unlike them, Mark Robinson is not only running for a public office, but he's denying that he's in any way affiliated with someone who would be a part of these sites or watch these type of things. That's what makes it an issue.
Yeah. So this is between 2008 and 2012. This is before his political career. He's on Nude Africa. Mini Soldier was the name of the account. And they were able to connect him to these different accounts because he used his real name on some of these things. His real name. And not only did he use his real name, but his email address. Here's the deal. If you connect the dots here, this is Mark Robinson. There's just too many different things that line up for it to be him. Okay. Him having these accounts is not the part of this story that's interesting. It's what he was saying on these accounts. What he was saying during the time that he was married, what he was saying about his political beliefs are by far the most alarming and noteworthy things. And just some of the wild fucking shit that was coming out of his mouth. He was talking about the fact that he is a black Nazi. He said that he supported reinstating slavery. Remember, this is the gentleman that Donald Trump said was better than Martin Luther King Jr. He was Martin Luther King Jr. on steroids. He's a very close acolyte of Donald Trump, and someone who in recent months has been not polling very well in the North Carolina governor's race against Steiner, and who the party probably wanted to leave the race so that they could replace him with somebody else. All of this information has come out. I'm sure people have heard about it. I'm sure, Rachel, you've heard about it. You're going to read some of these posts for us in a second.
I'm going to try.
We're looking forward to this. But Mark Robinson has responded to a lot of this stuff. We're talking about really graphic things that talk about some of his sexual proclivities, some of his sexual fantasies, how he really enjoys to watch transgender porn. He has been someone who has been staunchly anti-transgender. How he was having sex with his wife's sister. We talked about the Nazi stuff. Just a lot of deplorable, like crass, ridiculously racist, homophobic. It's just really difficult to contextualize all the things that were swimming around in his mind, don't you think? You read it all.
No, I couldn't even get through it all. I mean, it's some of it is just so, and I hate that I'm going to subject our thought lawyers to some of it later on or in a second, but I couldn't even finish reading it all. Now listen, do I love to see the downfall of Mark Robinson? Absolutely. Am I relishing in this a bit? Yes. Because this is a man who has terrorized so many groups of people. But we shouldn't even be here. And we've talked a little bit about Mark Robinson before as he's, was starting to, run for office. I mean, continuing, his political career, his aspirations. But, we said this before, like, what does it say about our country? What does it say about the state of North Carolina that a man with this extreme take on politics and, who's a conspiracy theorist, sexist, homophobic, all the things, get this far in a race and become the Republican nominee and possibly the next governor? What does that say about our country? What does that say? Now, all the stuff that he was doing before that we knew of was already outrageous. That coupled with now what we're learning in forums, well,
so here's the thing. So all of this stuff people couldn't have known. This was his private personal internet life. But the point
but the stuff
that
he
you're
was
making,
saying.
right. If the biggest surprise about all of this is that it's not surprising, right? It's not surprising, right?
I was surprised.
You're surprised by this? The guy is a kook.
No. I'm surprised. I'm not going to say that he was that reckless, but a little bit. I'm surprised at the things sexually that he was saying. I didn't think that was something that he was going to be. I mean, you don't know what people are into behind closed doors, but yeah, that he's on these forums talking about his wife's sister and the things that he wants and his fantasies out here, and then goes and runs for office. Now, granted, I don't think he was always pursuing to run for office. He went viral just because he spoke out at a council meeting and people started big upping him. And then he decided to aspire to be a politician. But you are not surprised at the things that you read in the forum?
Well, no, because, like I said, I've been on these forums.
Okay.
Before. And then
big forum guy over here.
And then number two, I'm not surprised though, because the ridiculousness in which he carries himself, to me, I cast him in a specific role when I see him. I know how guys like that talk, how they move, and how they operate. So all of the things that he was saying, essentially, I have no problem believing that was the tamer version of him. Mark Robinson's talking about life during Jim Crow. He's talking about like the extreme Uncle Ruckus sort of buffoonery that he, displayed when he was in front of people publicly, was the sanitized and sort of PG version of him. So if you're giving that in front of cameras, I wasn't surprised when I saw all of this. Now, some of this stuff is really, really, really out there. But at the same time, it's like him saying he's a black Nazi, him wanting to reinstate slavery. Those are things that
That's
I'm like,
not surprising.
Not at all. I'll say this, to your point that you were making earlier, he said that he was Martin Luther King Jr. on steroids, Trump did. This is actually MAGA on steroids. Mm-hmm. This is when you start lowering the standards of acceptance into your political movement to anyone who shows loyalty to Donald Trump. Then this is what you get. And I don't understand why the right continues to get burned by this. So Donald Trump's standard into the party inner circle is anyone who shows loyalty to him. So there's no true vetting process with any of these people. Mm-hmm. And you've seen the right burned by this. You've seen them burned with Marjorie Taylor Greene. You've seen them burned with Mark Robinson. You've seen them burned with J.D. Vance. Maybe they need to go back, and I've never agreed with political theory or political policy on the right, but maybe they need to go back to vetting candidates along lines that have to do with something other than whether or not they can suckle Donald Trump's balls proficiently enough. Because a lot of these people that he's just minting, they have major, major problems. I mean, Mark Robinson is one of them, but they have a problem on their own ticket at the top of their ticket right now with J.D. Vance.
But I mean, this just seems to be a theme within the Republican Party. It's not even just Trump bringing on people or endorsing people who do whatever he says and what he wants. Obviously, these people are getting votes at the same time. So it's just an issue within the entire party. But when I was looking at like some of the things, because as I said, I couldn't get through it all, that Mark Robinson was saying, or just some of the things that he saying in the forums, but then also what he's just said outright. It's like, you can't have the conversation without talking about, because, right, he has said some outrageous things about the LGBTQ plus community. And then yet in these forums, he's talking about actually liking things that are related to the community.
Liking transgender porn.
And so,
yeah.
Transgender porn, correct. And he's not alone when you see stuff like this, right? Like you see extreme conservatives sometimes or Christians talk about these things that they're so against, but behind closed doors, it's really just a projection in public, because behind closed doors, they like it. They're into it. They're interested in it. And that's what you see here with Mark Robinson. And it's just interesting how this happens. And he's not alone. Time and time again, we have people who are so loud and outrageous in their hate for a certain group of people or a certain way people live their lives. But then behind closed doors, they're doing the exact same thing. And when I look at Mark Robinson, I don't just see somebody who's projecting. You also have to talk about the self-hatred. His desire to be anti-Black or say things that are anti-Black, it's almost as if he no longer identifies with his Blackness because he's so obsessed with being accepted by whiteness. It's wild what Mark Robinson is doing. And I hope you said that he's his numbers are going down in the polls. I wasn't aware of that. Since this has all come out, like, what are Republicans in general saying, and what are Republicans in North Carolina saying?
So
do you know?
The conspiracy theory here is that all this Oppo research right here, that it came from Republicans in North Carolina, because the polls over the last couple of months have shown that he is down significantly this time, and they want him to leave the ticket, and they wanted him to leave the ticket so they could put somebody else on the ticket so that they'd had a chance to win the governor's seat in North Carolina. And so they put this out there. The Republican Party has now, since this, largely, you haven't heard anything from Donald Trump yet, distanced themselves from him. It was a race that it did not look like he was going to win. It was very, very, very tight at one point. We went down to North Carolina, me and my friends from P68. Shout out to Daryl, Molly, Raymond, Melissa, P68. Okay, we went down there, and at that time, we were talking about Mark Robinson a little bit. I think things were a little tighter then, but that was a couple of months ago. I think, Stein had put some distance between him and Mark Robinson since then. However, he has decided not to leave the race. He's not leaving the race.
Of course.
He's not getting out of the race. Matter of fact, not only is he not getting out of the race, he said that this is AI and that he's being targeted by the powers that be. Donnie, give me the audio.
Hey guys, Lieutenant Governor Robinson and your Republican nominee for governor as well, of course. Well, guys, the news media is at it again. My opponent is at it again. You all have seen the half-truths and outright lies of Josh Stein on these ads over and over again. And now a story leaked by him to CNN is appearing now. Let me reassure you, the things that you will see in that story, those are not the words of Mark Robinson. You know my words, you know my character, and you know that I have been completely transparent in this race and before. Folks, this race right now, our opponents are desperate to shift the focus here from the substantive issues and focus on what you are concerned with to salacious tabloid trash. We cannot allow that to happen. And folks, we've seen this type of stuff in the past as well. Clarence Thomas famously once said he was the victim of a high-tech lynching. Well, it looks like Mark Robinson is too, by a man who refuses to stand on stage and debate me about the real issues that face you. Instead, they want to focus on salacious tabloid lies. We're not going to let them do that. We are staying in this race. We are in it to win it. And we know that with your help, we will. God bless you. And we will see you where? On the campaign trail.
On the campaign trail.
On the campaign trail. Don't be black now, nigga. We're talking about some lynching. Nah. He said in one of these that he wishes he could join the KKK, but they don't let blacks in. So you can't be the lyncher and the lynchee. Okay? So you can't want to join the KKK and then come back and saying you can't be the lyncher or the lynchee. You gotta choose one. Like nah. Stay on that side. I keep trying to tell people, man, do whatever you gonna do, but just stay on that side, man.
Nah, they always come back, right? Or they at least try. They try to come back, Candace Owens. They try, right? They eventually realize all that I've been doing, all that I've been saying, it's never gonna be enough. And they try to dip their toe back in. But we ain't taking it. They go back. All
right, so here's the thing. We cannot give the people a full. Rachel, please. We have a podcast to do, okay? We can't give the people a full understanding of some of the stuff Mark Robinson was saying on nudeafrica.com without reading some of his entries, some of his thoughts. Okay, now a lot of this stuff is discussing. He's talking about peeping in on women and all of that stuff. He's talking about all kinds of stuff. But there are some of these things here that just talk about what's going on in the inner workings and mind of Mark Robinson. And Rachel, because you are one of the most articulate, one of the most well-spoken, your voice floats like lavender on an open lake in Westeros. Okay. Maybe you could read some of these for us. Maybe you could start us off with Mark Robinson's entry, Many Soldiers entry.
Yeah, Many Soldiers, not Mark Robinson.
Many Soldiers entry on Sunday, September 4th, 2011.
I'm sorry, guys. I'd just like to start there. This is not me sorry. This is Many Soldier. Okay, here we go. I'm back. We took a break for a little bit, but picked back up where we left off. I hooked up with my wife's sister, and boy, was it good. I don't want to keep going. I don't want to do it.
Donnie, pop on.
I don't want to. This man is sick. Donnie, you do it.
No,
this man
I'm producing.
is sick.
Hey, listen, I gotta be honest with you guys. I
can't even
First of all,
read it.
now let me tell you guys something real quick. And this is okay. First, we gotta be serious. This is very serious. This is the future of North Carolina. Here's the problem with me reading it. This is expected from me. Okay, no one's gonna care. No one's going to care if I read it. It's not going to have the same impact. This is about the future of North Carolina. So, Donnie and Rachel, you guys have to get through this. This is for the people, man. Okay, Donnie, you're a father now. Would you want your child growing up with a governor like this in the state? Rachel, you are a very important figure. You're one of the number one grape sellers in all of America. Yeah, you got to get through it.
This is what I ask. Donnie, because Van's going to break this out. I need you to beep out every single thing that I read.
No.
I'm not
beep
doing
it out.
Donnie.
What's the
they
point
can go
of
look it up
doing
and
it?
Read it for themselves. They
What's
can
the
read my
point of
lips.
doing it if we're going to beep it out? Rachel, come on, Rach. It's Rach time.
No.
This is your time, Rach.
No, Donnie, you have to beep it out.
Yeah, if Rachel says she wants it bleeped out, we got to respect her wishes and bleep it out. We can't force her to do it. I feel like we got to. You
know what? It's still going to have a huge impact because you're going to hear how many times you have to beep it out, which keep this behind closed doors and not on forums.
So this is what I'll say. This is what I'll say. We beep it out on the breakout, but we keep it clean in here. So if people want to listen to you read it uncensored, they have to come listen to the podcast. Is that a deal?
No.
Oh my God.
No.
Man, what are we doing?
I don't hate
the
that,
same
but
reason-
if Rachel is uncomfortable with it, still,
Damn.
the answer is
I
no.
got a reputation. I'm sorry. I can't have people breaking this out and have me talking about, you know what? It's too much. If it was one sentence, fine. It's too much. It's too
All
much.
right. Well, then I'm gonna read one.
Mini Soldier,
Okay,
Mark
so you read
Robinson.
the first
Okay,
one,
okay.
Go ahead.
and then I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read one.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
I'm back. We took a break for a little bit, but picked back up where we left off. I hooked up with my wife's sister, and boy, was it good. That is still creamy, and that ass is still slick, shiny, and pissy smelling. I her good. And after my was coated with cream, and after my was coated with her cream, we 69'd. She sucked my and balls clean and tossed my salad while I licked the cream out of that, sucked her huge
Huge.
and tongue fung that wait, I can't even read. And tongue that pissy ass good and deep. I know it's bad, but I can't help it. That crack is like crack, and I'm hooked.
I'm hooked. He's hooked.
That man is.
Dude's out here.
Donnie, do what you do. Go ahead, man. Take it away. Take it away.
Had me another hot morning with the wife's sister. She brought along her laptop this time, and we watched some vids here on NA. That one really got us hot. Was called Wet Anal. That vid got her pussy soaking wet, and y'all know what I did, right? That ass was wet, slick, and good and pissy. And I licked and sucked that pussy and asshole till my face was covered in her funky juices. Then she sucked my dick till it was good and hard and lubed it down with wet. Then she laid back while I greased that asshole with her pussy juice and wet. Watching my big dick slide in and out of that asshole takes my breath away. It looks so good. We ass fuck a lot, but she gave me a nasty, sexy surprise this time. Right when I was really pumping the dookie shoot, good, she shot a long, hot stream of piss up in the air that covered my chest and stomach. It was so fucking hot. She was coming, I was coming. She was pissing and I was covered in piss and pussy juice and lube. Damn, this girl is good and I can't wait till next week to get me some more. This nigga a freak.
Donnie, you have to, I don't, and advance too. It's too much
Don't
for the
edit mine.
listeners.
Don't edit mine.
It's too,
Leave my shit
it's too
raw like Mark
much.
Robinson.
It's too much for the listeners. You like, again, it's one thing what you do, but like to read it in words, it's too much. This man is.
Why he want her asshole to smell like piss?
But
why is it
what
pissy
was,
smelling? At first when he
you
said
have
pussy,
to ask Mark.
at first when he said pissy smelling, I thought that he meant pussy smelling,
Nah.
and he just mixed the I with a U, or it was a typo. But then
No.
he keeps going back. He wants the asshole to smell like piss. I've never heard
He
that.
said dookie shoot. He said dookie shoot.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I've never heard. I love it when the asshole smells like piss. Pissy. It's pissy
It's
Go ahead,
no.
Mark. Live your life.
I wish they were debating now, because he says that Stein won't debate him. I wish they were, so they could say, when you did, I want the moderator to read some of this back to him.
We should say this. While Mark Robinson's sexual proclivities and all of that stuff are his business, the most important thing, by far, this is funny, obviously, and it also obviously paints a different picture of him than he paints of himself. It's very important to remember the most
Right.
important thing that you get from all of this correspondence from him is that he is a self-hating Nazi, racist, and that he is not fit because of his worldview to be the governor of North Carolina. Him wanting to fuck his sister and concocting fantasies, or maybe this all did happen, I don't know. It's one thing, whatever, that's his business. The most important thing is that inside of here, you see reflections of the Mark Robinson that you've seen out on the campaign trail, as he's talking about Black people, as he's talking about gay Americans, as he's talking about other groups. It's a window into his mind. And these are not the type of people that you want involved in politics and making policy that affects people's lives. That's what I would say. So all the rest of this, it's crazy. And obviously, it shows some different things, him talking about he liked to watch women shower and that he fantasized about it later on. All of that stuff it speaks to his value of women and how he looks at women and all of that stuff. But, right here, we'll want to cover this up with a bunch of comedy, or I don't want to cover this. I want to speak for Rachel. Cover this up with a bunch of comedy. But there's also some really, really vile and disgusting things in here that somebody making policy for people probably shouldn't have. We're talking about Nazis and stuff like that.
Yeah. Stop giving people power who have viral moments, right? It needs to be people who are dedicated, who have a history, who are aligning themselves with good morals and values, but also who are for the people and doing things on behalf of the people and not for self-motivation in their own power, which is Mark Robinson. He had one viral moment, and then all of a sudden he's given this power because you like one thing he said without knowing the history of everything that he stood for.
Right.
Let's stop doing that.